We start now with the infamous call that Trump made on Saturday. You'll remember that Trump asked Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to, quote, find more votes. Take a listen.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
All right, there you have it. Bloomberg Opinion senior columnist Tim O'Brien joins me now. Hey, Tim, Happy New Year, and it's great to see you.
Happy New Year, Tim.
Thanks. In your most recent column, you write that, quote, the phone call memorialized what corruption and a desire to orchestrate a political coup sound like, but that Raffensperger, of course, wasn't swayed. You also point out that he'd need more than Georgia to flip in order to win the election. So what do you think Trump's goal here is?
Well, I do think in his heart of hearts he would like to foment a political coup. I don't think there's anything opaque or unclear about that in this phone call. It's in his own voice. He's telling two Georgia officials to absorb, ingest, and accept his version of lies and myth-making about election fraud. He's then asking them to act upon it. And he's actually warning them of risks and possible criminal charges if they don't do it. So there's no question that he's trying to corrupt them here, and he's exposing himself to possible criminal charges in doing so. I think emotionally and psychologically, this is another chapter in Trump's desire to walk away from a loss and pretend that his loss to Joe Biden in the presidential election was anything but a loss. But in the service of all of that, he's really willing to torch democracy. He's talking about, I think, fomenting riots on the streets of New York. He's encouraging legislators not to certify the results of the Electoral College on January 6th. All of these things are in the service of his own ego and really do undermine voters' faith in democracy.
And Tim, as you point out, it's not just President Trump at this point who's trying to undermine the election results. Over the weekend, we learned Senator Ted Cruz is on board with close to a dozen other senators at this point, saying that they will not certify the results on Wednesday. What type of damage does this do to democracy here in the U.S.?
Well, in practice, there's nothing they can do to stop Joe Biden's ascent to the White House. He is going to be inaugurated on January 20th, and none of these actions will stop that. But what they do is they serve an audience in the Oval Office that a handful of legislators are willing to court publicly, and I think a larger number of members of the GOP privately, because President Trump still has political traction with voters in their home states, and he's a gigantic gravy train for people who either want to stay in the public eye or earn some quick money. And all those forces are compelling these people to play to both the White House's needs right now and to the voters in their own district. I mean, the really, I think, disturbing, sad, and damaging reality in all this is that the GOP has fed these suspicions to voters of there being an election fraud and are now saying we shouldn't investigate an election fraud because the voters are suspicious. In other words, let's investigate the very falsehood that we've created. And I think there's no question that this is damaging long-term to people's faith in the rule of law, public institutions, and processes that we all rely on in a nonpartisan, non-ideological way to make our society and democracy work.
I was struck, Tim, listening to the more than hour-long call that happened on Saturday by the conspiracy theories that the president was just spouting, things that absolutely did not happen in the state of Georgia. Do you think, based on the reporting that you've done for years, writing a book about Trump and more, that Trump actually believes these things?
I think Trump has always created his own reality bubbles that he likes to inhabit, because in his mind there's a narrative of himself as a very capable, great, and unusually gifted man, all of the above, which aren't really true. This is also very much in keeping with how he rolled when he was a real estate developer, a casino magnate, and a politician. He has routinely tried to corrupt people around him. Remember, Trump was impeached for trying to strong-arm the leader of Ukraine in a telephone call to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. So this is not a new act here at all.
Where does the Republican Party go from here, Tim? It seems like there's sort of this inflection point here, right? It's Trumpism versus a few other Republican senators, at least right now, who aren't necessarily getting on this train.
Well, I would hope that it's a moment for the Republican Party to really clearly define what conservatism is, what they want it to do in a positive way for American society, and whether or not what they're going through with Trump comports with any of that. Traditionally, conservatism was about fiscal austerity, a strong, robust foreign policy, a hawkish stance towards the military, and recognition of certain social equities. And I think what you have now is a party that traffics in race and race baiting and racism, embraces elitism, and is engaging in these culture wars and political one-upsmanship for the sake of holding on to power rather than promoting good policy. And I think that's a dangerous place to be.
Bloomberg Opinions, Tim O'Brien. Tim, it's always great when you join us. Thanks so much for taking the time and joining us on Quick Take today.